What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome back into the CRW podcast here for episode 225 as we get set to preview the upcoming game against the Ohio Bobcats as West Virginia hits the road as a 1-0 team to take on 0-1 Ohio. Coming up this Saturday, that game will take place at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. West Virginia versus Ohio. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about the matchups. We're going to give our key to victory, our score predictions, and of course, we'll take a look around the Big 12 before we wrap up as well. So that's what's on the docket for this one as we get set to dive into our second preview podcast episode of the 2025 season. And joining me to help me do that, of course, we've got my two great co-hosts here. We've got Steven.
What's going on, everybody?
And Brad.
What up? What up? What up?
All right, gentlemen. So we'll dive in more specifically here with talking, offense, defense, the matchups, all that good stuff here. But just kind of opening thoughts. How are you guys feeling heading into this game against Ohio? They've been a really good team the past few seasons. They're coming off a game against a power conference team where they, arguably could have, maybe should have won, and that was playing on the road. Now they're back at home playing against another power conference team as West Virginia comes in. Opening thoughts. How are you feeling about this matchup with Ohio, Stephen?
I feel pretty good. I think there's things that we definitely need to work on this week in practice, and definitely moving forward throughout the season. The glaring issue is the turnovers. But to me, I'm not so much as worried about the turnovers. As much as I'm worried about, I guess what you would call disciplinary issues, like the false starts and the holds and things of that nature. But I mean, that's just also to be expected with the newness of this offense and how many new pieces within all of it that there is. But like I said, with all of that being said, I'm still excited about a lot. I thought our defense looked really, really good. I thought that our offense, even with the mistakes that were made, looked really good at times. We talked a lot before the show about that catch that Cam Vaughn made and how difficult of a catch that it was. I mean, on the surface, it looks like a good catch, but the more you study it, it's really a great catch,
Phenomenal, yeah.
Yeah.
phenomenal catch. And
Elite.
it just points to the timing and the relationship that him and Nico already have. And then that's not even mentioning Jaheim yet. So I feel good for the most part going into this week. I know there's a lot for Ohio fans to be excited about with their quarterback Parker Navarro.
Yeah.
But I think West Virginia is going to have a large contingent go over to Athens. So I think the crowd shouldn't be a factor for us anyway. It should be if anything, it should be a factor for them. And their coaches even acknowledge that, which is a really strange dynamic for a game.
Yeah.
But I kind of love it. I think it's what college football is all about in a way. A lot of people are kind of upset about us having to go to Athens. At first, I was too, but the more that we get closer to the game, the more that I'm like, this really is what college football is all about. It shouldn't have to be, you know, the the little guy going to the big school all the time. So I kind of like this dynamic, and I like the way it shapes up for West Virginia because I tell you what, Rich Rod is not feeding into the whole trap game mentality, if you will.
No. Definitely not. But I agree with what you said there because that's kind of one of my opening thoughts was going to be as well was just how kind of intriguing this is as a road game because yes, it's a true road game like you're going to play in Athens, Ohio, but the fact that it's actually a road game that's close enough for people to, travel to driving distance for a lot of Mountaineer fans even, that's something you don't get a lot for true road games for West Virginia. So as you said there, Stephen, our fan base is going to travel really well to this game. We know a lot of people that live in Ohio that are going, people that have bought, season tickets to Ohio just to go to this game and get in there to that stadium, which they're expecting it to be, the largest crowd in their stadium's history, possibly. And I think it's going to be interesting to see. Yes, it's a true road game on paper, but is it going to be almost more of like a neutral site feel because how many fans we're going to bring to it as well, which makes it a little less worrisome having to, go play a road game when you have that chance of having a lot of your fans there as well. So I definitely think that is an intriguing aspect here as far as an opening thought goes. Brad, what about you though? Steven mentioned Parker Navarro there. He's a tough player. We'll talk more about him when we get into, the offense specifically, but he is just coming off, being named the MAC Offensive Player of the Week. 12-5 all time in the series. West Virginia leads over Ohio. West Virginia's won the last 4, but West Virginia's never won on the road against Ohio in this series, actually. So looking to do that for the first time in this game. But how are you feeling about the matchup going into it as it's the first meeting between the two teams since 2001, Brad?
I mean, relatively optimistic. I mean, I would not say that I was overall, excited to start 1-0, right? The first time we've done that consistently, well, not consistently, but first time we've done that in the last little bit, get out on the right foot, and it does feel like an opportunity for the team to kind of hone itself, right? But I mean, you're walking into, and like Steven said, like Rich Rod's making no qualms about it. He's dead focused on this game, but everybody knows what's coming next weekend, right? And it is focusing on this weekend. You got an Ohio team that had a close one with Rutgers that might come in a little hungry, and it's going to be a lot about setting the tone early, right? And trying to work through some of those kinks that we saw in the first game. This is why we did the scheduling the way we did. You get an easy one at home. You get a follow up to tune up some more before what's coming next week. So, feeling relatively optimistic. Seeing what I saw on Saturday, I think we could probably hang with anybody. I think if you continue to feed our strong core that we've got building up, we can compete with anybody in the country with the way our defense is looking. So it's all about cutting out, setting the tone, and fine tuning. I say to really because you make some big mistakes like you did in the last game, you're not going to be able to stave off a somewhat decent team.
I mean, I'm sure that you guys listening will hear this a million times this week, and you may have already heard it a million times, but the old adage is you improve the most from game 1 to game 2, right? So hopefully that does, and we do clean
Yeah.
up some of those issues, and we can
Don't
see what
tell
happens.
don't tell Rich don't tell Travis Trickett that.
Yeah.
On the coaches show the other
Yeah, I
night,
heard that too.
he was saying that he definitely does not agree with that mentality. He thinks that you improve continuously over the season.
Which that's as you should. That's the right mentality to have for
True
sure.
that. True that.
You definitely should. But I think, as you said there, Brad, the main thing is I definitely trust Zach Alley. I really do. Even just seeing one game, I know it was Robert Morris, but just a complete 180 from what we've been seeing defensively here at West Virginia over the past, 6 years. We have a really strong defensive coordinator and some really good pieces on that defense. So I'm excited to see how that pans out. So, as I talk about that, we may as well transition into the matchup, gentlemen. And let's talk about that West Virginia defense taking on this Ohio offense. Some talented pieces there. It's the coordinator, of course, Scott Ipshorting, his first season as the offensive coordinator there, but he's been with the Ohio program for 10 plus years. So that's one thing that I've noticed. Although it's a new head coach for them and Brian Smith taking over for his first season, he was with the program for a while. So yes, they have some new coaches, but it's all filled in with guys that have been there. So they really kind of haven't missed a beat, it looks like, as you saw with their first game there going on the road and nearly beating Rutgers, falling 34-31. But as far as that offense goes, we know the guy that makes it go, Parker Navarro, had coming off a game in which he was MAC Offensive Player of the Week. He was the Conference Player of the Year last year. You've heard, our coaches talk about him. Rich Rod has continuously said he's one of the best players in college football, and that's the way I would term it. I think he's probably the best quarterback in college football that not a lot of people know about.
Yeah.
He's coming off a game where he was 21-31, 239 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he added 93 yards and another touchdown on the ground as well. Can hurt you with his arms and can hurt you with his legs. So you definitely got to keep an eye on Parker Navarro. His main target in week 1 was Chase Hendricks, 9 catches, 115 yards. I don't think anyone else on the team had more than 2 receptions, so he's definitely someone you want to key on. But in the run game, it's not only Navarro. The running back Bangura is really strong as well. He actually was at Ohio a few years ago, transferred to a Power 5 school. I want to say it was Minnesota, and then now is back at Ohio. 16 carries, nearly 90 yards in week 1. So, Ohio kind of, similar to West Virginia. They want to run the football, both with the quarterback and the running back, but they can hurt you in multiple ways. And they're matching up against, that Zach Alley defense that we were just touching on a little bit there. We liked what we saw from it in game 1, but here's one of the first real tests going on the road and going up against a quarterback that you're going to have to try and contain if you want to win this game. You're probably not going to stop him, but can you do enough? Can you force him into some mistakes? Can you make him one-dimensional? And that maybe make a difference in this ball game, because that's certainly who West Virginia's keying on. You got to think throughout this week in their preparation is Parker Navarro when you're talking Zach Alley's defense matching up against this Ohio offense. Wouldn't you think, Steven?
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to see it. I don't really know which way it would go one way or the other, because I don't think you got a good test with Robert Morris as quarterback. I do think that West Virginia did a really, really good job of stopping the run. That they did a good job of closing gaps up the middle, closing off the outside. I remember one instance specifically, the running back that like everybody got piled up in the middle there, and it became just a big pile, and the running back was standing on the outside, and he was going to bounce to the left side to the outside, and I believe it. I can't remember who it was. Might have been a Sonny Redwood, but somebody on the outside caught him and didn't let him go.
I think it was Devin Grant.
Might have been Devin Grant. Okay, so you remember the
You
instance
talking
I'm
about
talking?
when he spun him around? Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and then got him down. And I remember thinking to myself, like during the Brown era, we that would have been probably a 20-yard run, if not a touchdown. You know what I
True.
mean? Like those types of plays. And I mean, that's a small occurrence. I get that. But like just the little tiny details and the way that we tackled. I mean, like that was
Yes.
refreshing, man. I was impressed by the defensive play on Saturday. I thought they did a really good job of switching up schemes while also staying pretty simplistic and vanilla because I don't think either side wanted to give up too much of what they do. Definitely not the offense, but I don't think the defense wanted to do too much either. But
No.
he definitely still sent them a
I was
lot.
about to say, even when Zach Alley's vanilla, he's still sending
Hell
a
yeah.
couple of blitzes at you. Nothing exotic like we'll see probably, this week and moving forward. But yeah, he's still going to come after you
Yeah.
with what we want to do. We have the identity on both sides, which is a nice change and a nice adjustment. And like you said, even against Robert Morris, it is Robert Morris. No offense to those guys, but the one thing you could take away was definitely the tackling was there. Very few missed tackles, and the defense was really swarming to the ball. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that's going to hopefully help you on Saturday as well. But how are you feeling about the matchup here, West Virginia's defense versus that Ohio offense, Brad?
Yeah, I think that this is going to be the fun one to watch. I think this is going to be the good on good comparison, um, where we're going to get to see kind of what a fun's like. I think Zach Alley definitely kept it pretty vanilla, but kept it interesting against RMU, and I'm excited to see it step up a little bit. And so, looking at the top five people, I say the things that impressed me, I say super about the defense. And going into it, the big thing for me was turnovers, and they did force two turnovers, right? Or one fumble, two fumbles.
Two, I think they
At
forced like
Yeah,
three
least
two.
fumbles,
two.
but only
Yeah.
recovered two of them, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you're trying to hit that mark, and they got close to it, right? But on top of that, one of the things we didn't see very much in the Neil Brown era was sacks and good quarterback pressure consistently, right? And so things that really stood out to me in this first game was I was really noticing our linebackers. I was like, like Chase Wilson's up in there, the
Yes.
people are flying around, Fred Perry, like Reed Carrico, those people were making an impact. They were always around the ball, it seemed. But then going through this, I didn't realize that Hammond Russell had 4 total tackles, 2 solo, 2 sacks, and two
Yeah,
and a
he
half
had a
tackles
hell of
for
a game.
loss. You talk about a person that spent his whole entire career at West Virginia, now gone to two different coaching staffs, and has just really stuck to it, been loyal. His father's been a great, supporter and fan.
Yeah, not talked about enough.
And yeah, absolutely. And so when you see it, you got to call it out and say, hey, that right there is success.
Yep.
In a position that we didn't really know if it would shine or not, right? And when that guy starts opening up more, some of these other guys are really going to open up um, what they've got going on. So we say a big shout out to those guys. I was saying I just feel like those ones specifically were always up and in it. Um, and that was like Steven said, refreshing to see. It was like there we go. I do think there was a couple blown coverages or just wide receivers left open, which is, flashbacks trauma. But like you guys said, good fundamental follow up football. There was a lot of coverage sacks, probably right. Like
Oh
he just
yeah.
couldn't find him. He was throwing it away a lot, right? There's 3 or 4 thrown away balls that are
Yeah,
going to
quite
compound. So
quite a bit that hit the ground for sure. Because I think he ended up being their quarterback was like 7 of 22 or something when it was all said and done. So
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
and
Hey,
so you're going to be tested a lot more this weekend, and it's like you guys said, are we going to be able to like now see those guys take a little step up, like because they've kind of got to, right? Like they got to continue to get better.
Yes,
hey,
for sure.
you want to talk about something that stuck out? Eddie Kelly is a
Oh,
unit of a
he
man.
is he is huge, man. He
Oh
is
my god.
huge.
There's a picture. There's a picture of him that I might be able to get it to pull up on camera.
So 6'5", 288.
Yeah, and he's every
Yeah,
bit
but
of it, man.
him compared to these guys,
Can't see that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's not even.
that
It
is
looks unfair. He's
that's
a grown man out
insane.
there,
Hey, that number one right there is the kid from Bluefield State.
and the I mean, that's saying Eddie Kelly,
Okay.
where number one just makes it stand out even more, where he's got the single digit number. I think
Him
Mm.
compared to that poor number 4 right there, like, it's insane.
it is, man. We got some guys up there on that front line of that defense. I think that that's, like Brad said, probably underrated because I think the defensive line is definitely one of our stronger positions. And you pair that with, how good the linebackers looked. Jury's probably still out on the secondary, but I think that we definitely have some guys there that I've been excited about all offseason, which we're going to have to see when they first get tested, which that'll come this week. And, I wish I could remember who said it. I can't remember. Maybe I heard it on Sportsline or something, but it's definitely a good thing to point out here as well is, getting to face Parker Navarro before we face Holstein is, I think, a really good thing for our defense because, last year when we faced Pitt, we hadn't really faced a quarterback like that was slippery, can hurt you with his legs or his arm. And now the fact that we get to face Navarro before Holstein, I think that's also a really good sign. And it's only going to help us, with both of those guys.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, for sure.
He should Pitt.
Yeah.
I'm not
Easy Pitt,
worried about
always.
Eli.
Always. Always. They eat it. They eat a lot of it.
That's what
But that's pretty much, I guess, what we got on that side of the ball. Let's flip it over. Let's talk about that Rich Rod offense now, going up against this Ohio defense. This is where West Virginia needs to, I think, make hay in this football game. You look at that game against Rutgers as much as, the quarterback play and how good Parker Navarro was stood out. I think the other thing that stood out to me was that the Ohio run defense looked a little susceptible in that game. And if that is the case, that should bode well for West Virginia as we take a look at this side of the ball, where their defensive coordinator is John Hauser. Also, he is their associate head coach. It's his second year there as their defensive coordinator. Several players that have stood out on that D. To me, I think the best player on that defense is their safety, Adonis Williams. He's a junior, leads the team in tackles with 11. He's the only player that had double-digit tackles for him in that first game of the season. Linebacker Jack Freeze, he had 8 tackles of his own. And then on the defensive line, they had Jay Crable, who had a sack in game 1. So some standouts there on that defense. And, of course, the man running it there is John Hauser. West Virginia hopefully can score some points. When I look at that matchup, I know it's maybe apples to oranges comparison because we play so much different than Rutgers and the Big 12 so much different than the Big 10. But when I do look at it, it does give me hope because I think the one thing that we could probably all agree on is that the offenses in the Big 12 are a little bit more explosive than the Big 10, and they play a little bit more of a different style. And if Rutgers was able to put up, 34 points and end up eventually winning the game, hopefully that bodes well that West Virginia is able to score 30 plus in this game and have a good game, even though they're playing at Ohio. But what are your all's thoughts here on this side of things? Rich Rod's offense going up against the Ohio defense. How are you feeling about this one, Brad?
Yeah, and I know I made jokes about the turnovers. They were really bad, but I do think it was young people with jitters that are in a kind of like a bigger game environment. And I think a lot of those are going to be corrected specifically, right? And I do think that the line will tighten up, but it's definitely going to be it needs to be faster, right? Like it needs to be faster off the jump. The one thing I
Yeah,
focused on a
get that
lot in the
tempo.
last, yeah, the thing I focused on a lot last, podcast and trying to keep consistency here, was explosive plays. And I feel like we didn't see explosive plays until third quarter, right? Cam Vaughn throw some backups. Some people start getting tired. Um, so it's looking at that again. And like I said, I think that we saw too many pieces. I know Rich Rod's wanting to play a bunch of different people and play 100 million people, right? If you got 100 people on the team, you don't have a team. Give me 11 people that can go out there and win it, right? That's been your whole thing. You got Nico, you've got Cam Vaughn, and you've got Jaheim White, right? And those 3 players, I think, can absolutely go down with anybody that we're going to play this year. I really do. You get that many good pieces together, and you can for sure compete with anybody you want to with Sac Alley's defense. So it's trying to find those other supplemental pieces without losing the core, right? How do you find ways to get Rodney Gallagher involved and keep building on? We had a little bit of tight end success. What's that going to look like? Trying to find those other pieces, but at the key of our games right now, especially coming up against this Saturday, it should be focusing on getting those core people right and ready for a Pitt next weekend.
Yeah, and I love the trio that you mentioned there. I think they can definitely be special with Nico, Jaheim, and Cam. Definitely can. I love also you talking about the tempo there. I think that's something that they're definitely going to continue to emphasize. The first game, the turnovers kind of hurt a little bit, and Rich Rod mentioned that. I think they ended up only, having like 75 plays in that game, and Rich Rod wants, that to be up near 100. So I would not be surprised to see us reel off 90 plus plays, in this game, try to anyways, and, make them deal with our tempo, because that's the plus thing about it. Even if, you have 2-3 quarters where it's not going that great, by the time that fourth quarter rolls around and you've been hitting them with tempo all game, and we're going to make you prove every single game that you're as conditioned as us, and chances are you're probably not as well conditioned as a Rich Rod team, and we're going to eventually wear you down. That's the goal, and as long as we're able to utilize our tempo and play the way that we are capable of, we'll be able to do that, I think, in this game as well. That's what I'm hoping for. But Steven, how are you feeling about it, West Virginia's offense against the Ohio defense?
Yeah, that tempo, it especially wore them down in the third and especially the fourth quarter. The other day, like I said the other day, they had 247 of the 300 and so and some yards of rushing offense in the second half, and 199 of those were in the fourth quarter. So that'll
Wow.
continue, and the more that they play, the better at the tempo that they will get. But I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate a little bit to something that Brad said. Like I do agree that we do need to get those core people in place and find those people. One of the main positions for me for that was the quarterback position. Although I agree that you can have multiple pieces at the quarterback position that'll help you win games, you need one for sure guy. And I felt for a long time that it was Nico. I was glad to see for sure confirmation that it was Nico. I halfway thought, going into the game that we was going to get kind of like a game that you see for a preseason in the NFL where you get, Nico in the first quarter, Jalen in the second, um, you know, Scotty Fox in the third, so on and so forth, however the depth chart went. But I was glad to see it was Nico for all the way through to the fourth quarter, until I don't know, about midway through the fourth quarter, and then they finally put Jalen in. But for the rest of the team, I forget what coach I was listening to in one of the press conferences one day, but he was talking about that point specifically. You know it's different when you have your starters, and those are your starters, and those are your guys that are going to play. Like you were talking about, like those are your guys. You're going to have 11 that are going to go out and do it for you. Those teams are awesome, but I also think with this transfer portal and the kind of depth that you need for a team like West Virginia that gets riddled with injuries going down the stretch, and then moving forward, you don't have places to fill in whenever those pieces leave and go to the draft or just graduate, or leave in the transfer portal. I kind of like the dynamic that they have. That's they play 2 and 3 guys, so it's not just the ones that are really getting excited for game day. It's the 2 and the 3s, and even the 4 and 5s, because they're like, man, if I can just get to that 2 and 3 spot, I can have a shot at seeing the field. I don't have to make it all the way to the one to see the field. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so it gives your players a lot more motivation all the way through your depth, and then it also gives the players that are going to stay here, you know, all the way throughout their career, or even some of their career, that beneficial experience. A lot of times early on in their careers, that is going to pay off for for them and for us later on. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of beneficial factors of playing multiple people. I think that it's definitely something that you need to do delicately, I guess. But I mean, and let's not forget, I mean, you wouldn't have Pat White if it wasn't for that. I mean, he was playing pieces like that back in the day too, and playing around and seeing who was going to make that effort. And you got to see. I mean, a lot of guys. I mean, y'all watched football for a long time. A lot of guys may not perform that well in practice, but they come into a game and they are lights out. You know what I mean? I've seen it a lot. But they said Pat was like that. He said he wasn't. He was just kind of like average in practice, and then when it was game day, bro, it was game day. So
He was ready then.
yeah. So I don't know. I do see what you're saying, and I agree to a point, but I also think that, like I said, I think there's a lot of benefits to having the 2 and 3 and 4 guys that you're going to play, and at least
So
see who's going to be
tell
your
me
guy.
what you think it would take for us to see Jalen Henderson on Saturday.
Nico getting hurt or a
Um,
large lead. I truly believe that
honestly,
Jalen. looked good on his feet, but he had 2 wide open passes over the middle that were generally the same pass back to back, and he missed both of them. Like,
But one of them, he hit him in the hands and he dropped it.
yeah, still should have hit the other. Nico didn't
But
miss a
the
I
other one he
don't know,
did
I was
miss.
impressed. Nico didn't miss a single,
But
like,
what I
accuracy
think
pass.
here, I'm gonna go point counterpoint on this one because what I think is once Jalen Henderson and Scotty Fox came in, the QB run game, the stuff that we were doing just had a whole different level of explosiveness. So personally, I'd be shocked if we don't see one of those two guys get some type of snaps in some type of situations, to go out there and try and run the ball, or maybe use it even as a decoy and you fake a run and let them throw it. But I think that you'll see them used for the legs. I think even if it's 3 to 5 snaps a game, I think you'll see him get on the field.
Well, I'm not wishing anything ill on anybody, but I'd like for somebody to legitimately Google this and find me an answer if you could. But like, when was the last time that West Virginia had a season that they didn't have a quarterback get some type of injury throughout the season where the backup had to come in and play at
Yeah,
least once
it happens
every
especially.
year? It's I
And,
mean
Rich
it's
Rod,
an
as much as he
contact
runs
sport,
the quarterback, it's even, a higher chance of that happening. That's why I'm really,
right?
excited that we do have, 4 or 5 guys that they really do like at least.
Like that's I mean like Scotty. I'm sorry, I don't mean to like keep going on, but like Scotty looked good.
No,
Scotty looked good on his feet for that play. I'm not denying that. I'm super excited about that kid and his future here. Please God, let it be here, and don't let him go somewhere else with that. I mean, I've said it for a long. I think Nico's not just good. I think Nico is elite. Nico knows what it takes to win football games, and he's displayed it time and time again. I've seen Garrett Green do it. I've seen Jalen do it on Saturday. I mean, pretty much every other quarterback you can. I even seen Will Greer do it back in the day. Just throw like for how accurate that they were. There were times where they made errant throws, and it happens. I mean, it happens to the best quarterback. You see it in the NFL. I mean, that's the thing. It just happens. I don't remember ever seeing it from Nico, not once. I think Saturday it looked like there was one time that it was, but it was just because he thought Cam was going to keep going on a streak route, and Cam cut back.
Yeah.
Nico makes great decisions. He's got amazing. I mean, he was a 4-star athlete coming out of high school when he committed to WVU. He's always displayed his eliteness for me. I don't understand why people question that at this point in the fan base. And I'm not saying that anybody doesn't deserve to have the right to think that Jalen or whoever, now probably Scotty Fox is getting a lot of praise from the fan base, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying that people don't have the right to think that, but I'm saying logically, look at the product that we have seen. We have seen with our own eyes in a gold and blue uniform in an offense that we all viewed as man, we got a good running back. We got 2 good running backs, but I don't know other than that.
yeah,
Line can't block anybody and receivers can't catch. Quarterback can't throw. You know what I'm
true.
saying? Like
And
in
I
that
think
type of
going,
offense, Nico was elite. So I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think
I
Nico,
end my
Amen.
rant.
I mean, he's
and I
undefeated as
no,
a starter.
and I agree with you. He's absolutely elite. I think in my mind, when it comes back to the trio and the core and keeping it small, is like, would you rather see Cam Vaughn go off for another 7 catches, 150 yards, and 3 touchdowns, or somebody else on the team like I guess Jaden Bray would be the next big one, but or if Jaheim White didn't pop off, but Sincere Powers had another 100-yard game, or somebody different had a 100-yard game, or would you rather see Jaheim White pop off for 150 and 3 touchdowns, right? Like, would you rather see Nico struggle or see somebody else come in to succeed? And I just think that show me consistency, show me the same person doing the same thing over again, week to week, so that way I know walking into next week. And I agree. Again, I agree. I think we got some pieces that can really develop themselves as the year goes on. But at this point, like, I want to see some consistency, right? Like
Yeah.
that's just like something we haven't seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from because it's like we had all these new players and we wanted to know like who were going to be the guys, and then now we've seen, all right, well these are definitely the starters. You look at the snap counts and stuff. We went over them. Our whole offensive line played the most snaps, them and Nico. So it's like obviously you trust these guys a lot. So all right, let's rock with them and let's let them build up some chemistry because now that's what we need moving forward is chemistry, especially on that O line and everywhere else. And
Yeah.
as you mentioned, Cam Vaughn, that does make me want to touch on one more thing here before we get set to hit our keys to victory and our score prediction is, in case you guys don't know, Ohio in the bowl game played against Jack State.
Interesting.
Of course, Jack State, Rich Rod was already at WVU, but still running this a similar offense. And Cam Vaughn in that bowl game against Ohio, which Ohio did win. Do got to give them credit for that, the 3-point victory. But Cam Vaughn, 9 catches, 180 plus yards, and a touchdown in that bowl game. So last time he faced Ohio, had a pretty good day at the office. And also, let's go ahead and add in Gerard Bowie as I knock my mic around there. Rookie move there. 4 catches, 105 yards for Gerard Bowie as well. So 2 receivers that are currently on the West Virginia roster had 100 plus receiving yards against Ohio in the most recent time that they played them. So that, could help us on the offensive side. But I guess that wraps us up with the matchups portion of the show here, talking about each side there. Which leads us into the favorite portion here, the key to victory and score prediction portion. Let's lead it off with the keys to victory, gentlemen. I'll take this one first since I'll let you guys both go first throughout the matchups. I think for me, different things you could point to here. Obviously, there's stuff you need to clean up from week one. We talked about some different things there throughout the matchups, but I think the main key to victory for me is let's go out, let's make Parker and Navarro one dimensional. I think, when week one, our defense showed and we talked about them swarming to the ball, tackling well. I think they also showed that they can really stop the run. If they can do that again this week and contain Parker Navarro to where he's not hurting you with his legs and you're making him only, one dimensional where he's only being able to sit back and be a drop back passer and you're containing their run game in general, that really bodes well for our chances in this game. So I think make Parker Navarro one dimensional in this game, and we're going to have a great chance in this one. So that's my key to victory. What about you, Stephen? What do you got?
I think for me, it all happens. It all depends on what happens up front. So I think if the offensive line can get a good push, I'm really not that worried about the defensive line getting a push. I'm kind of confident in that. I think as well as their offense played last Saturday or last Thursday, I reckon. Um, I'm pretty confident that our defense, with the size that I've seen us have, um, all day we bullied them. I mean, like I said, we filled gaps pretty easily. We contained the outside, so I feel like the defensive line will get a good push. But the offensive line really needs to come out and set a tempo early. Like I said earlier, we need to fix some disciplinary issues. Holds are going to happen throughout the season. That's football, but we need to minimize those as much as possible. And then, like you guys touched on, we need to move with a little bit more tempo. If we can slowly progress through some of these next few games, I think I think we'll be a pretty good football team. But I think if West Virginia's offensive line can get a good push early, that'll be a good thing for success.
Completely agree. Something I'm definitely keeping an eye on. Want to see if the offensive line continues to improve game to game as they build that chemistry. I think that they will because we saw them improve, from the first half to the second half there, even in game one. So I like that. Brad, what about you? What's your key to victory here as West Virginia hits the road to take on Ohio?
Yeah, it's going to be getting off to a hot start, getting that momentum rolling early, start getting the train on. Never let the game be a doubt. That's the best way to win this game. If you give them life, they're going to stick around, and that's when bad things happen. So, come out, say, hey, punch them in the mouth, rich rod, hard edge. We come to play football, and that's what we're going to do. They should come pissed off from last week, not, you know, appeased last week, right? They should come out upset and ready to fight. So, setting that hard edge early and then rolling with it. I think that's going to be really what would set this game apart.
Hey, absolutely. Great point there. Jump out on them early, and that would help, lead into, my key to victory as well. Can make Parker Navarro a little bit a little bit more one dimensional if they're having to play from behind, get them down 2 scores where they're going to have to throw the football around. So I like all the keys there, gentlemen. I think they could all help lead us to a victory, but do we think we'll pull it off now? We've talked about this being, potential tough game for West Virginia, first true road game of the season. The fan base is definitely looking ahead to the backyard brawl. Don't think the team will be, but, that's something we have to mention here as well. But Can they get it done? West Virginia is 1-0 for the first time since 2020, but can they move to 2-0 and get their first ever road win against Ohio here in this series? Like I said, first meeting since 01. West Virginia looking to get the win. Ohio's beaten some Big 12 teams as well. They beat Kansas and they beat Iowa State. So a lot of interesting angles to look at. But Brad, I'll come right back to you and get your thoughts here. First of all, let's hear your score prediction. How do you think it turns out on Saturday there in Athens, Ohio?
Yeah, I'm feeling positive. Line's looking awfully close. They're thinking it's going to be a close one. I don't think so. I think that it comes out maybe close early. We don't get off to that hot start, but we at least get out ahead. Pull away in the second half. I think it's going to be 35-17. But
Okay.
good guys come back home. W.
I like that. I like the sound of that one. I would hope, to enjoy a win like that and not have to sit around and sweat it out and,
Yeah.
have the buttholes clenched and all that because you're so damn nervous throughout the game. Those are never any fun. I'd rather have it, solidly in hand, get off that hot start you were talking about and have that type of victory. That'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting. Like I said, you're on the road, but maybe it's more of a neutral type setting even. You said the line has it close. I think at the time that we're recording this, the line's currently like a 3-point. West Virginia is favored it only by 3 right now. So, a little bit closer than I would have expected it to be as well. But, I can see the reasons why. We talked about Jack State and Ohio in that bowl game. We talked about how Cam Vaughn stood out. But in the same token, Ohio, that quarterback Parker Navarro stood out in that bowl game as well, 254 yards, and he ran for 111 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns in that bowl game. But to me, you know what the difference is now? Jack State didn't have Zach Alley in that bowl game. West Virginia does. I think Zach Alley is going to have a great game plan for this game. I think we'll be able to contain Navarro because of that. I think the crowd is going to help us as well. All the West Virginia contingents there making this not feel so much like a road game and maybe more like a neutral site like I've talked about throughout this show. And I think we're able to execute on my key to victory. We're able to contain Navarro, make him a little bit one-dimensional, and it helps lead us to victory because, like I said, if Rutgers can score 30+, I think we can definitely score 30+. I think we'd cover the spread and then some. Not quite as, large of a margin as Brad has, but I got a 10-point West Virginia win on the road. Let's go get it done. Let's move to 2-0, 31-21. West Virginia wins it. Steven, round us out here, man. Save the best for last. What do you got here for your score prediction?
I I am excited to see how West Virginia does in this environment. Like I said, it's a really cool dynamic to have West Virginia kind of taking over their stadium. There will definitely be some Ohio fans there, but like I said, even their coaches acknowledged. I mean, West Virginia pretty much sold this place out. I mean, by themselves without Ohio's help. Well, West Virginia had to. All the fans had to buy season tickets because with the same thing that West Virginia did with the Pitt game, only selling those in season ticket packages and not single game tickets. They did that for this game because it was the biggest home game on the schedule. I mean, one thing I'll mention before I give you my score prediction, and one thing I think that was really cool about that was that somebody on Sportsline the other night had the idea to donate for the rest of the home games past West Virginia. They're going to donate. You can donate um, the rest of your tickets to the Children's Hospital over at Ohio, so that those
That's
children
cool.
can get tickets. You'll have to listen to that episode. I'm going to shout out and plug their episode real quick because you can listen to that and get information on that.
Yeah.
Wanted to add that in. Anyway, I think West Virginia's going to handle it well. I think it'll be a fun environment. I do think it's going to be a closer game than what you guys are anticipating. Hopefully, it's more along the lines of what y'all think. But I think it's going to be about 80. Yeah,
80. We're
80.
dropping 80, boys. Let's go.
Dropping 80 point
Woo!
air raid offense back. No, 38. 38-35. I think West Virginia. I don't think we necessarily win it on a last-second field goal. I think that might be one of those situations where we need to run out the clock, or possibly a goal line or a defensive stand uh, to end the game. But I think West Virginia takes care of business.
Hey, I'll tell you what, you might have a little bit closer than we do. You're kind of going along the lines with Vegas there, with what the spread is currently. But the positive side here is nobody picked an upset, boys. Nobody
That's
picked
true.
an
I just
upset.
think that it's going to be a closer game because like I said, this
I could
is
see
like
it.
this is like the biggest game on their schedule at home that they've had in years. Like
That's going to be their largest
this is
crowd
a
in school
big deal for
history.
them. So I mean, I'm sure, and also let's also add in the fact that this is for this level of football the smallest locker room in all of college football.
Yeah.
So West Virginia's got limited space to work with, not only before the game getting ready and trying to do their pregame routine and everything, but also during halftime. I mean, it's going to be a tough. I mean, people don't think that that's such a big deal, but I mean,
You're coming from a D1 program that,
from a
you know,
for one,
Yeah. It
yeah,
makes a
you
I mean,
can
difference.
like
see
for
what
lack
they
of
have.
better ways to put it, like you're spoiled to better amenities when you go to a lot of these other places. You know what I
It's
mean?
Yeah.
old school locker room, man.
Yeah, I mean, and let's not. I mean, let's not be naive. A lot of these guys do come from places where that you are in the trenches and you have to deal with. I came from, I was in locker rooms like that whenever I went to away stadiums. I mean, I sometimes you was sitting not even in a locker room. You was sitting behind a building on some grass on a chair, and you was eating a banana
Hmm.
and then drinking up. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't always have the finer amenities to work with. So hopefully, and I think we will, because Rich Rod's team's all based upon not having that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Hard edge,
No
baby.
dancing on TikTok.
But
Yeah.
they also get ice cream machines. But anyway, I digress.
Hey, Rich Rod said get comfortable being uncomfortable this week. That's the theme. That's what they're trying to do. And hey, like we said, the positive thing is hopefully we're all correct that it does end in a Mountaineer victory when we go to 2-0 and roll into the backyard brawl. That's what we're hoping to see. Hope you guys all are as well. Let us know your prediction in the comments, and of course, we'll get more of your all's predictions in our live stream coming up towards the end of this week, where we get your all's predictions for the game. That'll come on Thursday or Friday, most likely Thursday. But we'll let you know for sure here in the coming days. Appreciate you guys tuning into this one on YouTube. If you're watching, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Help us out with that crazy algorithm. Subscribe to the channel. Get our content each week now that the season's rolling. Ton of content coming at you. And if you listen on the audio side, leave us a rating there. You can find us in any podcast platform. Shout out to our friends over at WVSportsNow.com for hosting our episodes on their site. So now that we've talked West Virginia and Ohio, given our preview and our prediction for that, let's talk about the rest of the conference, gentlemen. Let's make our picks in some of these week 2 games around the Big 12 conference. We got, some mismatches that'll, probably flow through this pretty quickly because of that, but that's all right. We're still going to talk about them. One of those comes up here with Kent State at Texas Tech in Lubbock at noon, which on HBO Max and TNT. That's new this year for the Big 12, I'm guessing. Didn't know that we were streaming games there, but interestingly enough, Kent State, I think, was like 0-12 last year. There's no shot Texas Tech doesn't absolutely slaughter them. So give me the Red Raiders. What you got, Steven?
Stuff's gonna be start to be streamed on Disney Channel before it's too long. Anyway,
It's already on ESPN Plus, dude.
telling
Yeah.
you, it's changes so daggone much I can't keep up with it. You're gonna need like 50 freaking subscriptions just to keep up with all the games anymore, especially with
Bring
basketball
back
season.
cable.
I can go on a whole episode about that. But anyway, yeah, I got Texas Tech.
Yeah, I feel you. I could go on a tangent about that as well. But Brad, what about you? Anything
Yeah.
different?
Give me Red Raiders.
Red Raiders roll in that one. Then we got a nice little matchup here with Baylor and SMU. I was surprised that Baylor didn't get the win over Auburn, didn't perform as well as I thought they would. Run defense looked a little suspect, so it's
Yep.
going to be an interesting matchup here, taking on SMU of the known ACC powerhouse. SMU playing at noon there on the CW. Who do you got in this one, Brad? Baylor and SMU.
Yeah, I've actually got a cheeky SMU pick here. I just think that they're, making a little bit more strides. Baylor's, reeling off a loss. Just give me a cheeky SMU.
Hey, I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you. I think this one could go either way. That's why I'm gonna let Steven make his pick before I decide.
Uh, I was gonna go with SMU, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate and go with Baylor just because they got to bounce back, right? They
Mm-hmm.
They need
Big
it.
12 went
Of course.
13-3 in week 1. They were one of those three. I'm pretty sure they're going to be embarrassed about that. They're going to bounce back.
They're going to be embarrassed.
I see what you did there. The Bears. I
Uh,
like it. I think I'm gonna go with Baylor too, just because I'd like to see the Big 12 get the victory there over the ACC. But I think that'll be a good game. That'll be an
oh yeah,
interesting matchup there with the Texas schools. We'll see how that one pans out. Then probably we're gonna go ahead and skip that. We're gonna make that the game of the week. We'll come back to it last because
Mm-hmm.
definitely gonna have to hit on that one. But Let's go to Oklahoma State at Oregon in Eugene, 3:30 kick on CBS. Um, Oklahoma State, if Hoss Haney was playing, maybe this would be a chance to have a closer game. But with him injured and out, no, not to knock on Zane Flores too much for the Cowboys, but I think Oregon's gonna handle him in this one. What about you, Steven?
It's funny. Before the season, I didn't really know what to expect out of Oklahoma State. And then I see a picture of Mike Gundy with what looks like to be his nipples pierced, and then I see Mike Gundy in the post-game press conference the other day pull his shirt up to expose his nipples to the world, to prove to everyone that his nipples were not pierced. And I don't believe that there was that there was a reporter that even asked a
Oh
question
my
about that.
gosh!
I got Oregon by 50. I
Only
mean,
Mike Gundy,
dude
bro.
has lost his mind.
Only
He's
Mike
off his
Gundy.
rocker.
Oh, that's great, Brad. What about you, bro?
Yeah, I'm betting against Gundy too. Show me your nipples, but I got the Ducks.
Gundy's out there showing nips and taking L's. We're all rolling with Oregon in that one. We got a little rivalry game here, another rivalry game on the slate. Got a couple of those this week. Kansas at Missouri, 3:30. They're playing in Columbia on ESPN2. I think the Jayhawks are underrated, man. They're looking like they got a chance to be one of the better teams in the conference maybe this year. We'll see what happens. Of course, West Virginia will have to play them here in a few weeks, but I'm rolling with Kansas right now to get this win. What about you, Brad?
Yeah, I've been anti Big 12 the last few, but I'm going to take Kansas on this one. I agree. I think they've been looking a little spicy. A little spicy, so.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
Steven?
going to win over SEC.
Yeah, it's unanimous. I got Kansas. They look really good right now. Like I said, I even thought that before going into the season. Jaden Daniels, dog.
Yeah, he is. He looks good. He looks good, and we're definitely not picking the SEC there, so we're going Big 12 on that one, all three of us. Then we got Delaware at Colorado. I mean, obviously it's the Buffaloes, right?
I want to say yeah,
I
but
mean, this is a must win for Dion, right? Like, if he was to lose this game,
Yeah, there's
he
no
would
way.
probably be choked out. So,
Yeah.
give me Delaware.
yeah, he's
Brad said, "Give me Delaware."
no,
I like it.
I gotta take Prime.
Well,
I
wild.
gotta take Prime.
Yeah, I think Prime rolls in that one. Bowling Green, Cincinnati. Interesting matchup, but Cincinnati's back at home. ESPN Plus at 3:30. Cincinnati hung right with Nebraska, and some people were thinking they were going to be bad this year. Still got the guy there on defense, Corleone. Man, he's so tough. Uh, I think Cincinnati gets this win, and I think maybe Cincinnati's not as bad as people expected them to be this season. I'm going with the Bearcats. What about you, Steven?
Yeah, I agree. I think Cincinnati looked really, really good. I think Nebraska is just a pretty good football team under Matt Rule, and unfortunately with Dana Holgerson, they
Yeah.
look like a really good football team. But Cincinnati hung in there with them, and I thought that they also look like a really good, sound football team. So they're going to be tough this year. Also, give me Cincinnati.
Yep, right on. Brad, who you got?
Yeah, I like that pick too. I think Cincinnati definitely showed some strengths last week, and I just don't see it out of Bowling Green. So,
3 for 3 on that one.
It's
Of
not
course,
like they got Jared Deggy at quarterback.
yeah. I mean,
You know
if
what I mean?
that was the case, it might be a different story.
that was
Uh,
before he became 14% body fat, though. So,
Hey,
wasn't as good.
making all
that was
elite
prior. That was
NFL
prior to.
caliber throws. Give me
Cal
Cal Poly.
Poly in Utah at 6 p.m. on ESPN Plus. I mean, the Utes are going to roll. Yeah. Any objections?
Yes,
Utes are
Cal
going to roll.
Poly by 50, dude.
I knew Steven would have something to say on that
Cal
one.
Poly Technical Institute of Technology, South Harmon.
South Harmon, South Harmon
Cal
Institute of
Poly South
Technology, the
Harmon Institute of
sandwiches.
Technology.
Yep, that's who Steven's rolling with.
The fighting
Uh,
poppycocks or whatever they are.
Army and K State, 7 o'clock kick in Manhattan. It'll be on ESPN. Normally I would have said Kansas State would, win this one handily. It's interesting because Army got upset already this season. Kansas State was about 40 seconds away from being upset by North Dakota last week. So two teams that have kind of underperformed thus far this season. Defending that triple option is never easy. Give me Kansas State in a close one. Give me Kansas State in a close one. They finally bounce back here. I'm rolling with the Wildcats. What about you, Brad?
Yeah, so you give me Kansas State in the get right game. So,
I
I
like
think
it.
that they just come out and kind of collect themselves. Yeah, give me K State.
Steven?
Yeah, I think Kansas State still looked good in that game over there. So I'm going with the Wildcats.
I like it. I like it. Hopefully they bounce back, man, after that near debacle versus North Dakota last week. They need it. They need a get right game, as Brad said there. Houston at Rice here, 7 o'clock p.m. ESPN kick. These two teams battling it out here in Houston. Um, Houston's defense looked pretty salty there in week one. I think I'm going to roll with them to get the win over Rice. I'm going with the Cougs. Steven, who you got?
Yeah, same. I don't know anything about Rice, but Houston looked pretty good.
I don't even know anything about rice except it's pretty tasty. Brad, who you got?
Like jasmine rice.
I like it fried. Yeah, no, give me Houston Cougs.
I'll roll them with Houston. I like it. North Carolina A&T at UCF, 7 o'clock p.m. in Orlando, also on ESPN Plus. Obviously, I'm gonna take UCF, even though they barely got away from Jack State. North Carolina A&T is not Jack State, so UCF gets it done this time. Brad?
Oh yeah, UCF all day. This shouldn't be a contest.
Yeah, easy one. Steven?
Yeah, it makes me so mad that this is even a discussion. UCF.
Early season games.
Yeah. Some of these early season ones, that's how it rolls.
Also,
Now,
this
is
list will get cut in half as we get into conference play too.
Oh yeah, I was about to say we won't have as many to roll through then when
Jeez,
we
this
start
is so
playing
many.
fellow Big
The Big
12
12
opponents.
grew up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now with the 16
I
teams
remember
or
when it
whatever,
was 12 teams.
used to be quicker. Arizona State at Mississippi State, Big 12 SEC again in this one. This time it's in Starkville. They'll be banging them cowbells on ESPN2 at 7:30 p.m. Arizona State's my pick to win the conference. I think we talked about that in our season prediction roundtable. So I think they're going to go, take down the Mississippi State SEC squad. Give me Big 12 over the SEC again. Give me another big day for Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson, especially Jordan Tyson because he's on my fantasy team. That's what I'm hoping for. Steven, who you got?
Yeah, I hate to do it, but it's a night game in Starkville, Mississippi. They're gonna be jacked up for that game. I do think Arizona State looked good, and they're gonna be good this year. But I'm actually gonna go with the SEC and Mississippi State.
Wow.
Yeah,
We got a
hate to
big
do it,
upset
but I'm
pick
doing it
there.
anyway.
That's the upset pick of the week right now, I think.
Doing it even because I don't want to.
Brad, what about you? How are you feeling about this one?
Yeah, I do have a lot of those same feelings. SEC at night, get them in Mississippi. But it's kind of a must win for the Big 12. Really, they need this one to feel solid. So I'm going to take Arizona State with a hope and a prayer.
Okay. I like it. I like it. We'll see how it pans out, boys. I think they're going to roll, but we'll see. We'll
Hopefully,
see. You guys, got me worried about it a little bit now, but we'll see what
hopefully, man.
happens.
You asked me my pick. You asked
All
me
right.
my pick
Hey,
Hey,
for.
man.
Jordan, don't
I
ask
ain't
these
going to judge
questions
you.
if you don't want
It's
to
not
answer.
I
like
ain't
I
going to judge your
switched my
pick.
Come
lineman
on.
to a
Come
tight
on.
end.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I don't know who would do such a thing.
Hey, nobody's gonna know what we're talking about, but you know what I'm saying.
Inside jokes. College football 26 nonsense. Weber State at Arizona. I mean, the Wildcats, right? Yeah.
Are they
Is
both
the
the
Weber State
Wildcats?
not the Wildcat?
Well, they could be. It does look like
I'm going to
maybe
go
a
with
It looks like
Arizona
Wildcat.
one to
too.
me.
It does look like it, maybe. Well, I'll get the Arizona Wildcats.
Oh,
Let me
yeah,
be
Yeah,
specific.
I go with
yeah.
Arizona.
Take Arizona. Yep.
All right. And then Stanford at BYU in Provo,
BYU.
10:15 on
Yeah.
ESPN. Of course, BYU, we're big fans of BYU here on the Country Roads Webcast. We established that
BYU.
last season. So, I
A
mean, I think
million.
we're all taking BYU, obviously. The Cougars is the pick of the CRW, which takes us to our game of the week. We will round this out talking a little Cyhawk. At noon in Ames, Iowa on Fox. Definitely got to tune into this one. Always love this game every year and glad that they're playing before us on Saturday so we get a chance to tune into it. Iowa versus Iowa State, Big 10 versus Big 12, the rivalry, the Cyhawk trophy on the line. Rocco Beck's looked good this season. Iowa State's looked really good this season. Can they continue it is the question. I say yes. I think Iowa State gets it done. They've had some struggles against Iowa in recent years. They finally got over that hump. I think they continue that. They get another win over the Hawkeyes here. Give me the Cyclones. What do you got, Brad?
Yeah, I'm taking the Cyclones too, man. I just feel like they've kind of got some mojo building here. And taking it for the Big 12. I right there with you though. Iowa State.
Boom. Love to see it. Steven, what about you? Round us out here. Final pick, game of the week in our Around the Big 12 segment.
Yeah, I hate to all pick the same team, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Yeah, Iowa State. I like Rocco
Yeah.
Beck. I like the team that they got. I like Matt Campbell. Um, I think they look good. I think they've got a real strong chance of pushing for that conference title this year.
They do.
And you
Agreed.
mentioned that that Arizona State Mississippi State game is going to be a must win for the Big 12. I kind of think this one's a must win for the Big 12. As much as the Big 10 gets the notoriety now, I mean, the SEC gets all the praise in the media, but the Big 10 is the deepest conference. So I mean, if you really want to compete and make a name for your conference, your top teams have to compete in games like this.
Yeah.
True.
So why not win
They
both?
really
And then we're
can.
going to go stomp Pitt
True.
next week.
Hey,
True.
there you go. Go ahead and get all those
The
marquee wins.
ACC is a non-discussion. Ain't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ain't worried
Change
about
my
them.
pick. I'm going with the Baylor Bears.
Hey, you may as well. Right now, we're hyping up the Big 12, but I always enjoy that. I always enjoy the around the Big 12 segments. A lot of fun there, just going through talking some conference matchups and all that good stuff. And of course, we'll do a little recap of the week 2 action on our Ohio review and reaction podcast, which will be coming at you guys Sunday or Monday following the game. Hopefully, we'll be talking about a West Virginia victory and a 2-0 Mountaineers squad. That's what we're hoping for, and can't wait to tune into that game on Saturday. Of course, our channel members here on YouTube, the Country Roads Webcast, but you can hit the join button in the video description on the CRW YouTube channel or on our channel homepage. Can have a chance to watch that with us there, do a little watch along, watch party for the away games there for channel members. Just something to keep in mind as we approach game 2 of the WVU football season. The Rich Rod 2.0 era rolls on. We've given our thoughts on this one. We'd love to hear some of your all. Throw them in the comments there. Like we said, help us out by hitting that thumbs up button on the video here on YouTube. Leave us a rating if you listen on the audio side. But with that housekeeping out of the way there, I guess that's pretty much what we got here in this episode. We've talked matchups, given our key to victory, our score predictions, and talked a little Big 12. But any final thoughts before we wrap up here? You got anything, Brad?
Pitt Hate Week starts next week.
Hey, that's right. About to roll into that now. Can't wait to get into all that discussion as well.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a fun week upon us here with that approaching for sure. Hopefully get through this one unscathed and can't wait for
Yeah, I
that
was going to say, it's Rich
rivalry talk.
Rodriguez's job to focus on Ohio.
Yeah, we're fans.
I'm
We can do
focused on
whatever.
Pitt.
Yeah, we can focus on the backyard brawl as much as we'd like, man. We don't have no effect on it. So that's one of the fun parts about being a fan, by fans, for fans here on the CRW. Steven, there, any final thoughts for you here as we wrap up episode 225?
Yeah, Pitt Hate Week started about November 1992, and hasn't really ended for me.
Hey, I feel
So
that. That's since Steven was born there, gentlemen.
I was born with it coursing through my veins. I did want to give a shout out to some couple of guys. First guy, I know people are probably not gonna, maybe some of them are not gonna like me shouting these guys out, but I don't care. They're still our guys. They were here. First guy, CJ Donaldson, balled out in a really high profile game up there at Ohio State. Was really worried about my guy transferring and not getting any playing time. He went up there and got 14 carries and 2 touchdowns and balled out. So first shout out goes to him. Really, really proud of him. Second guy, Akeem Mesidor, balling out of Miami, making some really, really big plays at the end of that game to seal that game against Notre Dame. So like I said, non-West Virginia, currently related, but still guys that played here and made names for themselves to be able to go on and do things at these big profile name schools. So really proud of what they've been on to go on and do, and I wanted to give them a shout out.
Steven's viewpoints are not reflective of the viewpoints of the entire Country Roads Webcast team. Nah, I'm just kidding. Shout out to CJ. He's cool. Keem Mesidor, that's I ain't gonna go down that road because
Hey, I know,
I
I
guess it's too
know,
dangerous.
I
It's too
know,
dangerous.
I
It's too
know,
dangerous, Steven.
I
It's too
know.
dangerous around here in Morgantown. I can't talk about
It's
it.
been years, man.
It's too dangerous.
It's
I can't
been
talk about it.
years. It's been years.
I'm still butthurt over that one.
Damn selfish, man.
But hey, at least he's
Hey,
having a
if
good
you
career.
won't
That's
blame
good.
anybody, blame Neil Brown.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe I should.
Blame that coaching
I
staff.
blamed him for a lot of other things. So I guess we definitely could. But
Hey, I bet you anything.
that's a
Hey,
different road to go down too as
you
well.
want to have a debate about something? I bet you any damn thing right now. You can't look at this current coaching staff and tell me that he would have let Jamal Adai walk
Oh,
and would have let
definitely
all of
not,
these
bro.
and would
Definitely
have let
not.
all of these
Oh God,
recruits
don't get me started
along
on
with
that
Jamal
either.
Adai walk
Yeah,
because it wouldn't
don't
have
get me
fucking
started
happened.
on that one either. That was the turning point, the downfall of the whole Neil Brown regime. So we won't get started on that one. We'll wrap this. We're trying to wrap this episode up, not give me to going on another tangent here because I could go on that one for a minute, but instead I'm just gonna look forward to this game against Ohio and look forward to a great defensive coordinator in Zach Alley calling a good game, and look forward to an explosive and fun up-tempo West Virginia offense that we get to watch now, and see some hard edge out there on Saturday, boys. Can't wait for it. Hopefully West Virginia goes out there, gets a win in Athens. That's what we've all predicted here on the show, and had a fun time going through this preview and predictions episode. Hope you guys have enjoyed tuning into it. Look forward to chatting with more Mountaineer football with you guys throughout the 2025 season. As next up, we'll be reviewing this win over Ohio, hopefully, when it happens. But either way, we'll be back with the review and reaction podcast throughout the weekend, guys. Be on the lookout for that and our continued coverage here on the Country Roads Webcast as the Rich Rod 2.0 era rolls on. For my co-hosts Brad and Steven, until next time, let's go Mountaineers.
If you really want to know, then come on, let's go. Take a stroll down those